travelers! Hello, travelers! It's me, Makoto!
And me, Akira! Hello! And today we're here with a brand new guest for our newest installment of Go Industry Tours!
Today we'd like to introduce you to the wonderful Kitty-Tama! She tests games as a beta tester for MangaGamer, is a freelance editor, and also is a newbie vocalist for visual novels in Japan! Hajimemashite!
Yoroshiku onegaishimasu! Thank you so much for joining us today!
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm really excited.
Thank you!
We are too!
Hey, Miss, first of all, how have you been doing recently?
I've been doing pretty good. Been keeping kind of busy with things, but it's going well. Not too bad.
These things are what are your current projects right now?
Let's see.
Can you tell us? Can you let us know?
Well, one of them I know I can talk about. I've been editing the recent volume for Lazy Dungeon Master, which is a light novel series I work on. It's a really fun little series. I don't know that Aki-chan would like it too much though, because it kind of veers into isekai territory. But
it sort of sounds a bit isekai.
Yeah, it is. But it does a fun little spin on it. But other than that though, haven't really been doing a ton. But I did get to, well, a game that I had beta tested went on sale kind of recently-ish. Yeah, Uchi no Kanojo, or as they call it, Living with My Girlfriend. It was so cute. It was super duper cute. I really liked it.
Uchikano looks really cute. I've seen the videos.
Cute games are cute.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
いつかやってみたいです。Someone try it one day.
Daisy.
Well, for our first-time viewers, maybe they're not too sure what a beta tester does at MangaGamer. So could you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. So, as a beta tester, primarily, whenever I'm playing a game, I am keeping an eye out for bugs and technical issues that may pop up, as well as keeping an eye on the text and making sure that it reads smoothly, that there's no grammatical errors or typos or things like that. I make it sound kind of simple. It can be a little tricky sometimes, though. But, you know, that's pretty much what it entails, I'd say. Just checking for bugs and typos and things like that. Having an eye for detail for that kind of thing.
Wow, that must get pretty frustrating sometimes, though. You just want to be able to enjoy the game, but then you're like, I can't just click. I have to be focused, right?
Right, like, I think the biggest thing that when I started out took some getting used to was the fact that when you're beta testing, it's an entirely different mindset from when you're just playing it for fun. Like, for me, for instance, when I'm beta testing, I read slower than I do when I'm playing it just for fun. So sometimes it can be a little frustrating, especially if I'm in the middle of like a really engaging scene and it's like, I want to know what happens next, but I have to go slow to make sure that everything is perfect. So it's just like, darn, I gotta like slow down even though it's really engaging, but it's satisfying though to like be a part of helping it all come together, like the final product, you know?
Yeah.
So
that sounded good though. Do you ever find that maybe when you're playing like a game in your off time that these kind of, I'm a beta tester, I have to look for this and this kind of qualities come through?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, I can never turn tester brain off. That's why anytime I play VNs in my downtime anymore, I mainly play ones in Japanese, because at least I can kind of turn tester brain off easier. Because I find with English releases, I'm just like, I go into work mode instantly. I guess because I got so used to beta testing stuff. So anytime I'm looking at an English game, my brain wants to click, alright, let's start looking for any errors that might have slipped through, and like, it's so tough to turn it off, you know? But, you know, you get used to it. Eventually your brain knows to settle down, and this isn't work, this is fun, but, you know, it's just one of those things that happens, I guess, after a while.
I know, there's a word for that in Japanese, actually. It's called shokugyo. it's like a workplace illness kind of thing.
Oh,
It sounds serious, but that's a 職業病then, right? Well, I guess what about as an editor? What kind of responsibilities do you have? Or do you have like a lot of creative freedom when it comes to your works?
How is it different?
I would say like there's definitely some things that are kind of similar to beta testing in the sense that like you're keeping an eye out to make sure that the text reads nice and clean, you know, ridding the text of any sort of like typos and like grammatical errors and things like that, but it definitely goes a little more in depth, I think. I find that when I'm editing, I do have a little more creative freedom over how the text reads. So if I feel that something reads a little more flat, I can punch it up a lot more than if I was just QAing something, you know what I mean? Because you can only go so far when you're beta testing. You're not really, you know, on that same sort of level as an editor where you can sort of call the shots more with how to make the text sort of come together, you know, like before it goes into beta. So it's definitely a little more of a creative process compared to the more technical side of beta testing.
I see. Well, I'm sure a lot of viewers are kind of wondering, but how did you get your start working in the visual novel industry?
Good question.
Oh boy. So I had been taking somewhat of a gap year. And at that point, I didn't fully know what I was going to do with my life at that point. I always had this like fire in my belly is the only way I can think to describe this, where I knew one day I wanted to get involved with visual novels somehow, some way. It was gonna happen. Like, I didn't just sit there thinking, oh, I want it to. No, I was very determined. I'm like, it's going to happen. I'm gonna do this somehow. I didn't quite know how to make it happen, and I had a few goals in mind with it, like, you know, I dreamed of singing VN opening songs and stuff, but I thought, well, you know, at the time my mic equipment hadn't been great and whatnot, so I thought, well, I'll push that dream to the back burner a bit. It's not realistically attainable. I live in America anyway, and all that stuff. You know, sort of self-doubty thoughts too in the mix, but then I thought, well, you know, I love visual novels, I love to play them, and, you know, I had discovered that, you know, there was the whole beta testing side of it, and I thought, well, I would like to do that. And at the time I'd known a friend who had worked at MangaGamer, and it turned out that there was something of an opening there with the testing thing. So I was able to get the opportunity to work on Free Friends 2, which was my first project. I think back to it very fondly. I was really excited at the time because I had known about the game. I really loved the art. It was so pretty. And I was like, well, I'm not going to turn this down. So I said yeah, and history was kind of made from there. So
That's so wonderful. You always remember those first projects, right?
Hold them very close to your heart.
Yeah. I know Kohikizoku's
Exactly.
work is so beautiful too. The atmosphere.
right?
Cute girls are cute.
It has such like a soft atmosphere to it. I love it. It's so pretty.
Right? Oh, but I'm glad everything worked out. Again, it seems like the common theme is fate, right?
Fate. But you can't
Yeah.
just wait for fate to happen.
No.
You need to make the wheels of fate
Yeah.
start moving, start rolling.
Exactly.
So I guess then, out of all your titles that you've worked on so far, what's been your favorite?
Maggot Bates, hands down. That was a real honor to work on. I never really expected to get to work on a Clock Up title, and that is like by far my most favorite VN brand. So I was just so hyped when the opportunity came my way, and I got to enjoy Hamashima's wonderful art, and like I got to test it. Like, it was a really surreal feeling, you know? Because I remembered when the game got announced in Japan, I kept a close eye on it, because I was like, well, this looks interesting, and then the localization got announced, and I was like, well, I'd like to work on that, and sure enough, I did. Very cool game. I really liked the overarching story. I also like seeing everyone's reactions to the more doki doki parts. It's really funny to see how people react to some of those parts. It always puts a little evil smile on my face just knowing, ah yes, now you're seeing it too, kind of thing.
I've been kind of curious about Mega Bates, but I don't know about some of those more docu scenes. I don't know if I can handle it.
It's kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot. But it's a really good story at the end of the day, though, and I really loved working on it.
And you know, the story's there, right?
Yeah, and it's like really hard to narrow it down to like one most favorite project, though, because like everything I work on kind of becomes like my baby almost. Like I always have a soft spot for the things I work on, so it's like hard to rank them, I guess. But Magabates is absolutely up there. That was such an honor to work on. I really loved it.
I'm glad. Out of all those jobs that you've done, has there been like a special moment that you've thought, this is the most fun part of my job?
Oh, that's a good question. 'Cause I don't know, like I think about it and it's like I feel like I've always had fun doing what I do. Like even from the start, I was just so excited, like, yes, I'm doing this thing. But I guess getting to work on Magabates was one of those moments for me. Like it was a big hype moment, like, oh, it's actually in my hands and I get to work on this. This is nuts. That was a pretty fun one. Gosh, let me think. It's hard to say though, because it's like I've really enjoyed a lot of what I do, like the process over the years, really. It's just been a constant train of like hype, I guess, like a constant hype train kind of thing.
I'd imagine projects are very long though, so don't you, is there like any times that it's like, oh, this is really tough, I don't know if I can go on or anything?
Absolutely. I've burned out a couple different times before. It's not fun. But I found with effective like time management and sort of figuring out my workloads ahead of time that I need to do to, you know, stay on the curve with everything, it works out totally fine. So I haven't had any issues since, but there's been a couple nasty periods of burnout where it was like kind of rough for me, because it's like I love what I do with all my heart, but like the motivation is so like dried up. What is wrong with me kind of thing. But it went away over time, but it was a little bit rough when that would happen, because I'd be so happy to be on a given project, it's just my brain wouldn't cooperate fully, and that can be a little bit tough, especially when you're doing something more technical like beta testing, where it's all about keep an eye out for the details and make sure that, you know, you do what you gotta do with all the, you know, text and all that. So it could get a bit overwhelming, but it turned out okay in the end, so.
I'm glad you're able to get through it though.
Yeah, I think burnout happens to the best of us, no matter what, how hard we try to keep going.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe some more viewers are curious about this, but do you have any tips for those who want to become a beta tester or an editor in the visual novel industry?
Ooh, this is a good question. If we're talking beta testers in particular, I would say one of my biggest tips for sure, take your time. Really make sure you're taking in the text. Go slower than you normally would, because you never know. You might slip up on the smallest thing. Like, you know how some words, when they're misspelled, your brain sort of just autocorrects it?
Yeah.
You know? You have to keep a really close eye out for that kind of thing. You don't want to get tripped up and miss that sort of stuff. And do all you can to try and break the game. Make the bug reporting effective.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Wow. That can be a bit challenging in itself, too. I think to be a beta tester, it takes a certain level of, like, determination, I guess, like that determination to know, yes, let's see everything that is wrong with this game and, like, try and, like, you know, report everything that needs fixing kind of thing. Yeah. So, that would probably be my biggest advice for beta testers. Don't rush. Just take your time and, you know, it'll click into place. It takes time, though, to develop that sort of skill. I think it took me a couple betas to get used to that sort of flow. But for editors, I think there's a couple. One is a piece of advice I found recently that's helped me out a lot, actually, is when you're watching, like, movies or TV shows or what have you, pay close attention to how characters talk, because that can be a very key element in trying to get a feel for character voice when you're editing. That's been a big help. And also, don't be afraid to loosen up and, like, you know, like, if you're working on a thing and the text reads a little bit bland or flat, don't be scared to let loose and have fun with it and, like, punch it up where it needs it. Because it can make for a much more colorful experience for the readers or players of the thing that you're working on.
Very interesting.
It's always very important to have fun, but also break everything and smash, smash. We gotta go at testing as if you're a monster.
Yeah,
Break
that's
it
pretty
all.
accurate.
And that makes it fun, right?
It does. It does.
Oh, on that topic, what do you think is the most fun part of your job?
Ooh, beta testing or editing? Both, right? Let's see. For me with beta testing, it's just... I don't know why this is considered fun for me, but it is. I find such a deep satisfaction with finding all the little errors in scripts. Like, as soon as I see them, it's deeply satisfying for me to be like, that doesn't look right, and then go from there. It's really fun for me for some reason, and getting to experience the game before, you know, it's, like, in its final form is super interesting too. Like, before it, like, it's all fully polished, it's really interesting to see kind of, like, once it releases, like, oh, like, let's see where it kind of differs from the beta version. I always thought that was kind of cool too. And as for editing, I think it's just having that freedom with the creative side of it, like, being able to let loose more and, like, really, I guess, have more fun with it, like, making the text more engaging, so to speak. Like, because it's not as technical as the beta testing side of it. Like, you can really have fun with it. So it's like a more creative thing, and getting that creative freedom and expressing the text in a new way